What's up, everybody? It's your favorite X-Buster's favorite nerd, and today we are looking at the True Force Designer Series Mega Man X. Now, as far as I know, this actual design was never used in the game, but my knowledge of Mega Man kind of drifts off after Mega Man 3. So I'll just put that out there as well. This is on loan to me from Jason M, and I appreciate him letting me take a look at this guy, and shipping is going to be expensive. But whatever, it'll be worth it. Because I love Mega Man. I'm not as knowledgeable about Mega Man as I maybe should be, but I love the kind of look and design and the original games. I don't know too much about when it got fancy on me, but I'm just old school, I guess. So we're going to talk a little bit about accessories first. We'll get him out of the way. And we have this alternate face, screaming face, which is nice to have. And the paint is flawless on the mouth, teeth, and eyes, including like the little like cut-in reflection bit. It's really sharp. It's really well done. They're interchangeable. I'm not sure how much I'm going to do with it because I'm not entirely comfortable. It's a pretty expensive piece and it's on loan to me. But this little notch in the forehead is where the front part of the helmet clips on. So don't worry. It's not like that's visible or anything. And then that plugs in there in the back if you want to go that route. Screaming faces and really emoting faces are nice to have for the option, but I find myself rarely using them for display purposes. But they're always nice to have. And then we have optional posing hands. Now this can be like onward, or it can hold the X-Buster, from the bottom or top or whatever you want to do. So always nice to have posing hands. I do find myself using those often. Then we have an alternate gauntlet and fist hand if you don't want to use the X-Buster, but really who's not going to have the X-Buster on there. And then we have these two vents. We'll take a look at one. They're identical, just opposite sides. You got this like light purple plastic. One of the things that's nice about this, and it's throughout, I don't know if you're going to be able to see it there, but you see the little writing? It's like a tampered paint, but it's really sharp. It's extremely well done. It's like beware of blast. Then it has this silver paint and blue paint on the bottom. Those go on this guy here. You can take these pieces off, and then you can put the other vents on as if he's, blasting off or gliding forward. And I'll try to take some pictures of that and leave it at the end, but I'm not going to mess with it too much right now. And then we have his X-Buster accessories. Oh no, you know what? Let's talk about this stand, because this thing is a thing of beauty. Probably the best, I'm a big stand fan, so to speak. Probably the best stand I've ever seen. And I mean that sincerely. So you have this base. There's little notches in there where this pegs in and clips on to it. You can have it wherever you'd like, which is a nice feature. And then on this itself, you have a hinge here, a hinge here, a hinge here, and then this top piece, I don't want to break it, but I was messing with it earlier. It swivels, but as you can see, oh, maybe it's not this one. Maybe it's the other one. Maybe this one is. This one might be stationary. Let me get you the other one because it comes with two armatures. Now this one, there it is. You can rotate it here. This one's a little tight, so I don't know if this one moves or not. I'm not going to force it. It's translucent plastic, whatever. You can rotate it, and then you can slide it back into position, and it'll hit against a little like stopping mechanism, so the weight of the figure won't affect the stand. How brilliant is that? That is one of the smartest things I have seen in a long time. Now I know this is an older figure, but just pardon me being taken back by that. Now let's get to the X-Buster accessories. So of course he comes with his X-Buster, and it lights up, which is a nice little bit. Pretty cool. And then I'm going to turn that off just for the time being. He comes with all these blast effects. And they can go on a number of different ways. You can remove this bit here and insert this into that. And then you can put this onto that, right? I think. Or maybe that just goes in regular. I don't know. Yeah, like that. I thought this went in there too. I'm not sure. Let me take a look. Well, at least I got that on. I got that on him. Let me see here. So that's pretty cool. Now there's a way, and I'm going to keep messing with it, but there's a way to put all sorts of effects on it. There. Now I'm not sure if that's intended because it's really heavy, because you can have it just the blast bolt and you can use the separate armature to hold it all together, but there it is. It just requires a little force. I guess you could try to hold his hand across to kind of get some extra weight on it, but it's pretty heavy. But it does, it does illuminate fairly well, as you can see throughout the whole thing. So it is, if nothing else, it's cool in thought, if not in in function in terms of the Mega Blast. But I think that I think that if you just use the single blast, or if you were to use just this piece, you don't really have as much of a problem. It's just that those translucent pieces they're pretty heavy, they're pretty dense. But either way, it's cool, and it's cool to have all those options. And I'm not going to mess with that too much more, but I think you get the point. So let's talk about the figure. So the head, we have the same kind of great paint job on the eyes and that flat plastic for the face, and I think that works really well. Everything is painted, so or at least has a finish on it. So this bluish purple, and then the light blue, the silver. There's friggin' turquoise underneath the silver there. The red gems are all translucent plastic, and then there's a different shade of turquoise there too. So you're talking about 1, 2 blue there, 3, 4, 5 different paint apps just on that helmet. It's really, and then it's got some small writing on the back. So let's say 6 for good measure, and there's a fair chance I'm missing one. Really, it's beautiful. So you got what feels like to me, it might be a single ball peg in the head on a hinge, but it's probably a double ball peg, and then there's a hinge down here at the neck too. So articulation in the head is pretty much perfect. I don't think you'd want any more. And the sculpt is intact the entire time. So really, really well done. For the chest piece here, we have this like light grayish purple color here. We have more tampered paint of this little design on his chest. I'll see if I can zoom in. My camera gets a little finicky. But I mean, look how sharp that is. And to be so small. Pretty impressive. And then we have the purple finish once again, and then the turquoise color inside there as well. And then we have these 2 separate extra pieces. Look, it's too much, okay? I need a minute so I can digest all this paint. I just need a minute. It's too much right now. All right. So the top piece feels like a double ball peg to me. Really insane range of motion, not a gap, really. I mean, maybe. I mean, like that's way too much of a nitpick. I'm going to say not a gap at all. And then the slightest bit of a swivel, which I think is good. And then the abdominal area, which has, I think it's just this darker color that's the paint, and then this bit of tampered bit that's on there as well. But the paint inside the line work is all extremely sharp. And then it's down at the bottom into what feels like a single ball peg to me. Now I will say that the top, that bit there can get caught up on the hips a taste, but overall quite an impressive range of motion that you're able to get on that guy. Come on. Okay, I'm going to stop drooling because it's really, really well done so far. So we have this shoulder pad that's on a single hinge, so that shouldn't bother you articulation wise, and then we have the turquoise paint in there and more tampered paint. That's all well and good. Getting you the shoulder that's up to there, and then the swivel around there, and it's on like a ball hinge, and then inside it looks like, let me see, yeah, it looks like a full butterfly joint that comes out. Now you're able to kind of cheat the sculpt here because it's not like a human type of character. And then they even put like a little gear design there, so that's nice also. And you get the arm all the way across the body. Now you're not really able to do that, or you wouldn't really be able to do that same design on a human character in the same way, but still cool. Bicep swivel, and it's just this piece that like fits around the shoulder piece, so it's pretty much seamless. And then we got the paint in there, double jointed elbow, getting you the full range. Little long, but I think it's okay to sacrifice the length of the elbow in order to get that range. And once you get them how you want them, you'll never notice. That's a huge nitpick. We have this purple glove. We have the blue inside there painted, and then we have this darker color that may not be painted. And then we have this turquoise on there, and then we have the hand, which are interchangeable, and as you can see, they're on little ball pegs. There might be a double ball peg, but yeah, they're on a double ball peg. So it's a ball peg inside there, and then they come out to a ball peg, which gets you a swivel and a hinge in and out. Not really much up and down. So same for the other side, except you have this cannon, more of this paint with the lettering on there and stuff, so that all looks sharp and clean. And then of course we've already talked about the light up feature, which is nice. Okay, so we have T-jointed ball joints for hips, and the range of motion out to the side, pretty much fantastic. And when I was messing with this guy, what I noticed is at first you can't really get the leg up, but you can actually drop the whole leg down, and then it gives you a little bit more clearance to rotate the leg up, and then you can push the leg back together. Come on. Really, really smart stuff. Now, let me get this back down. There's a really tight tolerance there, so that is a bit of a nitpick of mine. And then the thigh swivel is built in down at the bottom, but the range is great. Paint kind of the same throughout, inside the line work, all done really well. Double jointed knee, and look how that's done. Like, okay, so it's one joint there. It might even be triple. No, I think it might be triple. I think there's a joint inside here, a joint here, and a joint here. I'm not entirely sure, but you get the full range, and look how the armor comes apart when you do it, right? So we're ready here, straight leg. Really classy, smart job, and even inside there, it's painted silver and blue. Incredible. That is pride, ladies and gents. So down to the feet. Now he left this piece here. This piece should be glued in, and it's not. He left it undone because he wanted me to be able to show you guys that there can be a chink in the armor, so to speak. We also have on the back here this paint here, beware of burst, and that's because these, I'm trying not to put too much pressure on this thing. These open up here to show these like thrusters, and inside all that stuff is painted. And it's multiple jointed, so there's a hinge here so you can adjust that, and then the whole thing kind of slides in. Really, 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 really cool. I'm going to use this other foot as an example so we don't mess with this too much, but on the bottom, as you can see, everything is painted, and we have the translucent gems in the bottom, and then even the MK, whatever that says down there, like all that writing work. So for the feet, what we have is a ball peg going into the upper ankle there, coming down to a hinge, and then it's a ball peg going into the foot. So 1, 2, 3 joints in order to get an ankle tilt all the way up and a good bit back, and the rocker on the ball peg almost fully intact. This is probably the smartest piece of articulation that I have seen in a figure of this scale to date. Final thoughts wise, I'm pretty much floored by this guy, but the couple things I want to point out are that the hips are extremely tight. And in order to use, like, let me stop on that for a minute, because that's what we're talking about. They're extremely tight, and because of that drop down feature in the thigh, there's a thinner piece of plastic, not real thin, but it's just relatively thinner in regard to the hip joint and the thigh, where you have to put a fair amount of torque on in order to articulate the hip joints. As a result, I would say just be cautious with that area, but that's really the only problem that I came across. There's also that piece where the torso tucks into the pelvis. You want to kind of be cautious there. And then, of course, that piece should have been glued in, but that's an individual results will vary kind of thing. And those are really my only complaints. The paint is absolutely top shelf, perfect across the board. The articulation is the best I've ever seen on a 6-inch scale figure. Like, I'm pretty sure there's 3 joints. And if you want to count the moving pieces, there might be 4 or 5 joints in that knee. There's 3 joints in the feet. It's just, it's breathtaking. It's really quite nice. I think I mentioned the paint is perfect. The sculpt is on the money. You know, it looks like Mega Man. There's no doubt about it. The accessories are all smart. The Super Mega Blast, I wish, was not as dense as it is, so that you could utilize it a bit more on the cannon as opposed to having it floating. I mean, it may not even be meant to be on the cannon, but it would be nice if you had the option to have all that stuff on the cannon, and then you could kind of hold it. And it would have been a bit better if all those pieces were just a bit lighter and wouldn't put as much wear and tear on those joints. But that, once again, it's small potatoes. I don't think I would have this guy posed on my shelf with that effect on his X-Buster anyway. You know, I'm just having something to say to kind of give a more balanced review, other than just gloating over this thing, because it really is an impressive feat and a work of art. I will say this: I would love to start a Mega Man collection, but Mega Man is one of those franchises where the villains are almost maybe more important than the heroes. So I just couldn't commit to a Mega Man line unless I knew or had reason to believe that they were going to do a full run of villains. Now, if I had reason to believe that, I would jump in. But what it seems like most companies that get the license for Mega Man products do is they make Mega Man, they make Mega Man X, they make the other Mega Man guy, sometimes they'll make the dog, and then they'll like get out of the game. And what I would want is a full run of Mega Man villains. And I'm not sure that anybody will ever do that. And that might be a cultural thing. Most companies that get the license to these things are Japanese companies, and Japanese companies Japanese culture rather, isn't as happy or as thrilled with the idea of villains as American culture. So I don't see it happening. You know, but the world we live in, where we can get 4 or 5 Infernos, and 3 companies making Batman vs Superman figures, and 3 companies making Star Wars figures and so forth. Like, who knows what's coming down the line these days? But that's what I need in order to jump into a line like this. However, if you're a huge Mega Man fan, I can't think of any reason not to recommend this. I actually strongly recommend this. And if you are trying to build like just a classic Nintendo shelf where you have SH Figuarts, Mario and a Figma Link, I can definitely recommend this designer series Mega Man with great confidence that you will love it. So thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Till next time, take care.